Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to introduce my today's special guest, Mr. Charpentier. Good afternoon, Mr. Charpentier.
Hello, Mr. Katsian. Thank you for having me again.
As always, you have a wonderful professional retreat, books, shelves, everything with you, as always. So, Mr. Charpentier, I'm very happy to see you. So, how is it going these days?
Not bad. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you. Mr. Charpentier, let's start our conversation with event which happened last week. We learned that Boris Johnson, Prime Minister of UK, who used to be a great friend of Ukraine, he announced his resignation, which will happen probably in September, when a new prime minister among the Conservative Party will be elected. So how this news was received in the United States, and personally, how you can assess what just happened? Will we see a turn of British policy, especially in the light of Russian-Ukrainian war, or the successor will pretty much follow the guidelines drafted by Mr. Johnson?
Well, it's definitely, a blow to Ukrainian support, right? Obviously, it'll be very difficult to imagine someone so dedicated to the cause, the Ukrainian cause. But we don't know. We'll have to wait and see, and how the new prime minister handles the situation, because it's really premature. And we don't know a lot about his policies yet. So, but it is a loss, right? A lot of people called him, Boris Johnson, the second Churchill, right? So, and he really had a very good rapport with Zelensky. But as Zelensky said, it's just the will of British society, right? So I think that he's trying not to be self-centered and just thinking about, even at a time like this, although his interests are with the Ukrainian people, he knows that there are other things going on in the world, which is obviously extremely difficult for anyone in Ukraine to understand. Because if there were bombs falling over my head, I wouldn't be thinking about anything else in the world, right? So I think, for Zelensky to really, try to think beyond what's going on in Ukraine, and trying to think of the bigger picture is it's affordable.
Well, we now have some people who, can be potentially elected to prime minister position. Among them, we know for sure that Mr. Ben Wallace, who is serving the Ministry for Defense of the United Kingdom, and Ms. Truss, who is serving head of foreign affairs, foreign office in the United Kingdom. They also are going to run for a position of prime minister, and they are strong supporters of Ukraine, President Zelensky in particular. And I think that even though some Russians in a close circle of dictator Putin now seem to be very happy that Boris Johnson is going to retire still. his policy will be pursued by his successors, and it doesn't really matter who it will be, Ms. Truss or Mr. Wallace. United Kingdom will continue to support Ukraine because obviously for United Kingdom, it's very important that they took this leadership as a country together with the President Biden, President of the United States. So this is a very good example. And actually, this type of leadership foster situation in the European Union and the support of European Union towards Ukraine. So I'm sure that British leadership will keep going. So
I don't think things will change too much. I think that the British share the same values, right, as North Americans and the rest of Western Europe. And I think that its leaders uphold those same values. And those values are, to fight against inhumanity, to fight for freedom and democracy. And I can go on and on, right? So I think that, and the people and the leaders share a lot of common core values, and I don't think that'll change with the next leadership in Britain or America. So that's why you see even both parties in America really, supporting Ukraine.
These days I was reading a very interesting article in Foreign Affairs, which is a leading U.S. magazine in international field, and the author considered very interesting topic about soft power, why some states can exercise soft power like United States of America, and some states can't exercise soft power, for instance, Russia. And the author suggested that the reason is that only countries with a strong democratic leadership can exercise soft power, because usually stable democracies, they bring prosperity. So people who are prosper, they can think in long periods of time. And people who are in charge of democratic countries, they know that they will be substituted by their successors and will lead an office in 5 or 10 years. So it means that they don't want to start wars, which will, at the end of the day, destroy their leadership and actually put them in a bad situation in terms of history and in terms of offsprings who will consider their ruling as a not successful ruling, the ruling which was connected with the war. So that's why democracies, they know how to exercise soft power, and they do so. Unlike Russia, where is a dictatorship and where Putin holds power for 20 years, obviously he starts wars because he thinks that Russia means Putin and Putin means Russia. So as each dictator, he connects itself, bundle itself with the Russian future. So do you agree with this arguments?
I think that our soft power is obviously the most influential in the world. So it's very easy for us to exercise that our influence in that manner. And also, I believe that you talked about leaders from pretty much from Western cultures, Western countries being able to, wanting to leave a legacy behind for their children. And I agree on that point. I think that leaders from Western European countries or North American and many other countries throughout the world, a lot of other major powers, they want to leave behind legacies that reflect their values. Again, we were just talking about values earlier, right? How those. So I believe that. I believe that because nothing lasts long as a leader's values, right? You know, the values that reflect his society, reflect his people, and those are the strongest legacy, the best legacies that are left behind that had a lot of values in those within that legacy.
Mr. Charpentier, I know that you used to live in China and you know Asia very well, and there are no many people. There are a few people actually who have both experience living in the United States, living in the US, and even living in Europe, because you lived in Ukraine for several years. So my question will be about China.
I lived in Ukraine for a year and about 4 months. All right,
you had so interesting life in Ukraine. So I think that for you, even 1 year in Ukraine was like 10 years in the United States. So what do you think about China? Why China is so actually successful in terms of exercising soft power? Because China is not a democratic state, and China isn't pretending to be a democratic state. But still, China can exercise superpower, being autocratic state. Yeah, let's speak straight up. Yeah, China is an autocratic state, but still China can exercise soft power, unlike Russia, where, as we found out already, dictator Putin can't do this. He only can start wars. So what is the secret of Chinese approach towards exercising soft power? What do you think?
Well, I don't think that I disagree. I don't think that China has any soft power. I think that China has a tremendous amount of influence over the world. And I think that this is the reason we need that Western Europe and North America needs to have better relations with China, especially on with the Ukrainian invasion. But to get back to your question, why do I think China has a lot of influence on the world? It's just simply economic might, right? Chinese economy is interwoven into the world economy, and so economic might is, and they also have a very strong military. So, I wouldn't call that soft power. I can't hear you, Mr. Katsian.
Mr. Charpentier, my last question will be about United States. United States economy is doing very well. And 2 days ago, it was found out that US dollar now costs pretty much the same as euro, the currency of European Union. So for the first time in 20 years since euro was introduced, it means that US economy is doing quite well. So what is the secret of American success? What do you mean? How can you assess it? Why the United States is a successful state which attract so many people from different parts of the world because, if you compare Russia and the United States, we have to say that, why Russia is exercising hard force and why Russia is starting wars, because Russia knows that she can't compete with the United States because the United States is much better than Russia. The United States can offer better standards of living, better opportunities than Russia. And obviously Ukraine as a young state wants to be with the United States rather than with Russia. And this is crucially important. So what do you think? What is the reason of success of the United States?
In terms of our economic success, overall success?
Yeah. What is the reason of U.S. success? Because again, United States, is a very successful state, and United States. Why United States, in my opinion, can exercise of power? Because United States is a wealthy state, and in the United States there are the biggest number of Nobel Prize winners, best mathematicians, best physics, best technologists, best everything. So obviously, such states as Ukraine, they want to, look at successful like United States, not not on the backward states like Russia. That's why Ukraine choose the United States, then Russia. Because Russia is a backward country and United States is a successful country. So what is the reason why United States became so successful country? So it allows it to exercise the power. What do you think?
I think first that Americans just believe that they can achieve anything if they really set their mind to it. And I think that we don't set limits. And I think that we have a lot of the best universities in the world also we have a lot of great entrepreneurs. And I just think that, that American spirit is just one that just believes that anything is, that anything that we set our mind to, that we can achieve, and that we can overcome adversity. I think you have to look at adversity as really an opportunity to do even better the second time around, to use adversity as a strength, right? Obviously, we wouldn't want things to be the way they are in Ukraine, but it is the way it is, and I hope that this can be a great learning experience, and obviously highly unfortunate learning experience for Ukraine. But I think in the long run, I think that because, and I don't mean this towards an offense towards Ukrainian people, I love Ukraine. I love the people. I think they're very, very smart people. I think, and I love the culture. It's a very beautiful and traditional culture. I kind of wish that, as an American, we had a lot of old traditions like that, and Ukraine still holds on to a lot of those old traditions. But I think one thing about Ukraine and Ukrainians is that sometimes it's hard for Ukrainians to really step out of their mindset, because they come from such an old country with a lot of old traditions. And again, I think this is a very good thing. And I think that at some point when Ukraine comes out of this, which I believe Ukraine will, I think that Ukraine, as I said before, should still hold on to a lot of its beautiful traditions and a lot of its old mindset. But I think in a lot of ways too that, especially if if Ukraine is going to join the the EU someday and NATO someday, that you have to come in with a different mindset, because the past mindset probably wouldn't have worked. But I think that Ukraine is ready. But I think I believe that Ukraine needs to move forward and reinvent itself in a lot of ways. Again, I believe that Ukraine needs to hold on to a lot of its traditions too. You can't just get rid of your culture. I believe culture is very important.
Thank you very much, Mr. Charpentier. Sometimes I am thinking how I'm trying to guess how an office of professional novelist can look like. And each time I see your office, I understand that this is the way how an office of professional novelist has to look like. This minimalist style, books, shelves, nice pictures, nice chair. So, you really reflect a very serious confidence, and I'm sure that our audience who watch this interview, they also got confident because they, received and felt your confidence. So thank you very much for this interview.
I don't consider myself a professional novelist, just a novelist, and just a friend of the Ukrainian people.
Thank you very much, Mr. Charpentier, for this interview. Thank you very much, dear audience, that you watched our interview.
Thanks again for having me. It's an honor to speak to you and to the Ukrainian people.